Welcome to the Ethics of the Information Technology Organizations. I'm Bekim Daoud and I'm going to present this presentation. In this presentation, we're going to cover the following topics. We're going to find out what is the definition about the outsourcing. At the same time, we will explain what is the offshoring. We'll move then into finding out what are the pros and cons of the outsourcing. Of course, we'll take time to discuss the critics of the outsourcing and the offshoring as well. And finally, we will conclude this presentation by finding out what is the whistleblower. Outsourcing, offshoring, what it is. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the global supply chain is the difference between offshoring and outsourcing. A surprisingly large portion of the general public confuses these terms, but they are distinct concepts. That is an unfortunate misunderstanding, as recognizing the difference between these concepts can enrich our business knowledge. From here, we can evaluate the pros and cons of business activities and overcome the political rhetoric. So what is outsourcing and how does it differ from offshoring? We will find it shortly. Most fundamentally, outsourcing is about shifting internal operations to a third party. That can come in the form of selling the physical plant to a supplier, buying goods or services, or moving an entire business division to a third party and repurchasing the service. The decades-old trade model has been based on these ideals. Almost every company has suspended its functions and ranks the most considerable specialization in the most profitable areas. On the other hand, the foreign contract has generated fantastic wealth for the global economy. Unlike outsourcing, offshoring is primarily a geographical activity. In the West, goods are expensive because the staff required to produce and distribute them is costly at the same time. By contrast, in the developing world, sizable, cheaper labor groups provide a comfortable foundation for a low-cost economy. Offshoring takes advantage of those cost differentiations by relocating factories from costly countries to cheaper economies to sell goods back to the West at a hefty discount. In addition to technological improvements, it has been decades of effective offshoring that have reduced the cost of consumer goods such as clothing and electronics. Offshoring is not just about producing physical goods, but also about services. The ultimate way to save a considerable amount of money is to combine offshoring with outsourcing. That is the relocation of production to a third party that is located in an overseas country. It is essential to know the difference between these terms when engaging in the political debate over business strategies. There are moral and economic implications of dismissal and contracting, but they are distinct, and an enriched discussion will take these changes into account. Let's move on and find out more regarding the outsourcing when it comes from the perspective of the pro and con. In regard to the pros, reducing and controlling operation costs. Subcontracting is often cheaper than hiring an employee and removes some uncertainty about cost. The contract will specify exactly what will be done and for what price. Then we have improving company focus. By contracting a less critical task, we increase the company focus on considered moral vital tasks. We have expanding talent pool. Instead of relying on talent among our employees, outsourcing allows us to pull off a virtually endless pool of talent. Then we have another process such as sharing the risk with another company. The contractor or contracting company will share some of the responsibility for completing the tasks assigned to them. But it's not diamond and pearls when it comes to outsourcing. We have the drawbacks as well. Okay, let's have a look at some of the drawbacks of the outsourcing, or disadvantages as we would be calling otherwise. Employees may feel threatened. If employees see their colleagues being replaced by contractors, they may worry that the future contractors will replace them. That can destroy morale and productivity. Then we have standards may vary. When we transfer a task, we trust the contractor to respect our idea of quality. If we and the contractor differ, it means we may get a very different product or service that we had in mind. If we transfer to another country, we need to make sure that their regulatory standards are similar to those in our own country. Communicating issues may arise. When we transfer work, controlling the people who do that work becomes more difficult. We cannot just walk around the office. Simple as that. Instead, we will have to write an email or make a call and hope that the contractor is available at the moment that we're contacting him. If we are outsourcing to another country, we may need to consider changes in time and language barriers as well. Increases security threats. The more people who have access to a company's network data and resources, the more security threats. Adding any workshops or a company comes with a risk. And when we use an outside company, this whole company can have access to sensitive information. Let's have a look at the very next slide, the critics. What are the critics saying regarding the outsourcing and the offshoring? When it comes to the outsourcing, there are sides down in outsourcing as well. Although a company may expect to see a reduced cost profile, it loses its capabilities. Once we move our manufacturing equipment to supplier, we also transfer all the knowledge and human capital to make those goods. Such opportunities may have taken decades to create. Once they lose, they are hard to come back. Critics are also argue that outsourcing equals the job losses. The act of contracting is generally the dismissal of several persons. These workers face an uncertain future to keep their jobs with the new supplier or become completely redundant. As far as the offshoring, the critics are saying that in similarity as with outsourcing, the offshoring activity has the potential to save money for both the seller and the consumer. However, lawyers are arguing that these actions could simulate wealth in some of the world's poorest countries and provide jobs for those most in need of help. Critics claim that this is purely personal rhetoric and that offshoring is a device to exploit some of the world's most vulnerable populations. Workers from such countries have no legal protection and face challenging conditions or hunger. Okay, let's have a look at the whistleblower and what it is. Okay, at its most superficial level, a whistleblower reports loss, fraud, abuse, corruption, or risks to public health and safety to someone who can correct wrongdoing. A whistleblower usually works within the organization where the misconduct is happening. However, being an in-house agency or company is not essential to serving as a whistleblower. What matters is that the individual discovers information about the wrongdoing and that would not otherwise be known. Individuals who want to enjoy the protection and the rewards of the whistleblower law cannot rely on this simplified definition. Instead, they should adhere to the purposes and procedures in the statutes under which they seek official whistleblower status. In the United States, dozens of whistleblower laws are now enforced at the federal, state, and local levels, ranging from the False Claims Act to the Clean Air Act to the Antarctic Conservation Act, and each has unique definitions and procedures. The following slide presents the references that I've used for this particular presentation. Okay, so I was relying upon the information from the course textbooks, and then, of course, from the confirmed sources on the internet. I would take time to thank you very much for your patience and attention.